Hello, everybody, wherever you may be. My name's Larry. My call sign's Kilo 7 Hotel November. I'd like to welcome you back to my shack here in Northwest Oregon. This is Ham Radio Live, show number 98. Please hit the subscribe button. It'll help people who have an interest in ham radio to find the show. And if you want to join us live, take part in it, ask questions, comments, you can do that by hitting the bell icon. But that subscribe button is so important because we'd love to invite more folks into ham radio and get them on the air. Today's show, now look, we have a thing on YouTube. I don't know if you know this. It's about a 6-minute limit for most people to watch a video. That's it. I promise you there's no ads. I don't monetize the channel. I just ask that you subscribe. So that's the good part. The second thing is, I think this is going to be an interesting show because it's going to be about the history and difference of superheterodyne radios or superhets to SDRs. What is the difference? I looked on YouTube. I couldn't believe I couldn't find one thing ham radio related that talked about the difference between the two. This show will. It's also going to show you some SDR radios as well as some great analog radios as well. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to the show. Almost Christmas time, 2020. It is Thursday, December 17th. So let's get into this show. First of all, radio started, as we know, a long time ago, back in the early 1900s. In fact, radio's nothing like what it used to be. Let me show you a circuit of what radio used to look like back in the day. Believe it or not, that's a receiver. Now, these were called tuned radio tuning radios. Maybe they just overdid it on the tuned part, but to give you an idea of what it looked like to work one, take a look at this. Imagine working a radio this way. Seriously, look at this guy. I don't know if he's angry or if he's concentrating. You literally had to use 3 hands at once to use the radio. You did. You had to have 3 hands. You had to have one on a knob, one on a button, and one on another knob, because as you tuned up, the tubes couldn't keep up. So that's why it's called tuned radio tuning, because as you went up in kilocycles, another tube would kick in, and then you had to make sure that was ready to go. You'd keep tuning. That's how it used to work. Well, back in 1918, there was a change made. It was called Superheterodyne. Here's what the path looks like, okay, for a superhet. And this is going to be on tests too, from the technician to the general exam, all right? The first part, of course, you have the top left is your antenna. Comes into your RF amplifier pre-selector area. In essence, it's kind of like if you think 1 + 1 is 2, when you're looking at superhets, 1 + 1 = 4. And the reason for that, and I'll get this back up in a second. On a superheterodyne radio, you have the center or carrier frequency you're listening to, plus it has a reference frequency, okay? That reference frequency is something that basically helps to keep the radio square on frequency, all right? So you have the actual frequency you're on, a reference frequency, the sum of the two, and then the difference of the two. And what a superhet does is it focuses on that difference of the two to maintain stable tuning. That's the way it's been since 1918. Once we got in the early 1990s, the U.S. Navy developed software-defined radios. The problem was that they needed to be so large because they didn't have microprocessors to compute things as quickly as needed to be able to make them effective. Well, Flex Radio out of Austin, Texas, they got worked together and they built themselves a radio, and we'll get into that. But let's go back again real quick to the Superhet design, okay? The Superhet design takes an antenna, then you have your RF amplifier pre-selector that it comes into, then it goes into a mixer. Remember, you're dealing with 4 separate frequencies, okay? Your incoming, your reference, the sum of the two, and the difference of the two. That creates a local oscillator, okay? The local oscillator, what it does is it makes sure to keep that reference frequency in line with whatever frequency you're on, okay? Then it takes that, it mixes it, goes to the IF amp and filter station, then it goes to the demodulator section, then baseband processing goes out your speaker, okay? That's basically a superhet. Now, they've been around forever, and a lot of ham radio designers still, companies still make them. In fact, Kenwood makes still only Superhets. They don't make any SDRs. ICOM has pretty much switched straight over to SDRs, and I think Yaesu is kind of switching their way over as well. So that's kind of the way that it works. It's kind of you either love Superhets and you would never change from a Superhet, okay? Like if you look at this view right here, okay, you'll see 3 radios. The first one right here is the Yaesu FTDX 5000. That's a Superheterodyne radio. The one next to it is a SDR. That's an ICOM 7300. The one that's on the far back on the corner there, that's a beauty. That right there is one of the most sensitive and selective radios ever made. And even up against SDRs, it can hold its own. That's the Elecraft K3. That's not the K3S in this iteration. K3S was even a better radio because the synthesizer board's in it, but that's the K3. So you've got 2 Superhets, plus you have the little SDR in the center and the ICOM 7300. So you have 2 camps. You have your Superhet people who say, nope, crystal oscillators and crystal filters are the only way to go. Then you have your SDR people that say, look, I can get higher gain. I don't have to buy any optional filters. The computer will do everything. But the history of SDR is probably what has kind of got some people a little bit nervous. We've always had Superhets. They're familiar to us. Knobs, buttons, controls, roofing filters, and away we go. SDRs are kind of all in one package, but maybe it's how they came to market that made people a little nervous about them. All right, let's take a look at the original SDR. Before we do that, let's go to the hybrid SDR band plan, the band path, just to show you how it works. This is similar to the way that the Yaesu 101 works here. Okay, here's the Yaesu 101, and we'll put that in screen so you can see that as well. Hopefully, I'll move this picture over just a little bit. There's the 101. This uses the same technology that this radio here uses. So this is essentially how it works. You have your incoming antenna. You use it then to an amplifier, a mixer, amplifier, the analog to digital converter. Okay, that's the ADC. So when you look at this picture right there, that shows you essentially the path, okay? The ADC is the analog to digital converter. Then you have what's called an FPGA. Hi there, Bergs. Merry Christmas to Sweden. Goodness sakes. What a joy it is to see you. My goodness. Merry Christmas, buddy. Merry Christmas to you. I mean that. All right, so on your hybrid SDR, this is your path, okay? Similar to a Superhet. Antenna, amplifier, mixer, amplifier, and then an audio to digital conversion happens. It goes then through what's called an FPGA, which is a field programmable gate array, which is essentially a programmable computer that tells your software how to use the radio. That's where your hardware is, okay? That's where everything is that tells your host processor. In this case, it would be the 101 MP that's next to me. It's all built in, or it could be your computer at your desk. Okay, that's how a hybrid works. Now, if you're using, oh, you're welcome, my friend. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Always good to see you guys. Good to see everybody here. I was saying the last show, I was so honored. Like 5 continents watch this program, and I am really humbled. You have no idea. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. It amazes me, and it means a lot. So thank you for that. Okay. So when you have a Superhet, what you essentially have is you have all these mixer stages. It goes into your speaker and away it goes. The good thing is it's fast, right? On an SDR, you have to go through more stages. Okay. You've got your direct conversion, which is your analog to digital converter. Then you go through your field programmable gate array, which is essentially that's the instructions for your computer. It tells it what kind of a signal's coming in, how to tune it, how to make it filtered, how to adjust it, all those things. That's in the FPGA. That's how strong it is. That's part of the hardware that goes into an SDR. All right. Now, the early SDRs, and what might make things a little bit hard for folks, because, when they started these back in the early 2000s, late 90s, Flex Radio with their SDR 1000, this is the original one. This is what started it all. What's missing? Yep, knobs and buttons. You had to hook it up directly into your PC. That's how it was. Now, things have evolved since then quite a bit. In fact, it wasn't until, believe it or not, 2016 that ICOM developed the first software-defined radio that had knobs, buttons, and switches on it in the 7300. That's the very first SDR, direct sampling SDR that came out with controls on it. How big is it? It has sold over 2 million in less than 5 full years. That's how strong it's been. So this is the first software-defined radio ever made that had a box with knobs on it. No computer necessary. You just opened the box, hooked up your antenna to it, made sure your power supply was nice and tight, started using it. That was it. The 7300. And people either love them or they hate them. I've got to tell you, I love mine. It's a fantastic radio. Very sensitive, great filtering, and it sounds all right. I mean, it's not the greatest sound in the world, but it's a small radio. Get yourself a high parametric receive system, throw a good speaker on it. It'll sound like $1 million, but that's really where it is. And Bergs, he says, been over to the U.S., New York for work, so I did not have time to check it. Oh, man. Hey, thanks for letting me know. I hope you had a good time here in the U.S., Bergs. I really do. I know it's a tough time. Kilo 3, Echo Lima Golf. Eric, hello. Good afternoon to you. Great to see you. All right, so we've got the 7300. We've got the Flex Radio, but 1000. Now, the Flex radios, for the most part, some of them still require you to hook up to a computer, right? The nice thing is you can use them remotely if you want to. For example, any of the Flex radio systems made today, they're called the Signature Series. They're the 6000s. They'll all use a remote control unit. You can put it anywhere in your house. It's called the Flex Maestro. This is part of the joy of SDR. It gives you portability that is fantastic. Now, does that mean that Superhets can't do that? No. In fact, Elecraft proved that with the K3 Mini. It was just simply hooked up through a Wi-Fi connection, and you got control of your radio remotely. Pretty cool, really was. But this is the Maestro. It's made by Flex. You can put multiple receivers on it and control them from comfort of anywhere in your house. It's pretty slick. And I'll tell you, one of the things I love about this is it's solid. It's really usable. You can put this pretty much anywhere you want. Take it on vacation with you, right? Have it somewhere in your home and just enjoy radio. It's kind of a neat thing. That's an advantage of SDR. Software-defined radios eliminated having to buy optional crystal roofing filters to narrow down your passbands. That's one of the best things it did. It makes the passband almost infinitely adjustable for any mode you want to use. That's what's beautiful about SDRs. Now, Superhets have their own advantages and disadvantages, but Superhets have been around forever. It's what we know. It's what we either grew up with or it's what we know. Just the way it is. Gunter in the house from Germany. Nice to see you, my friend, as always. You know that. Wow. It's good to see you, buddy. Wow. And Daniel's here, Manchester, New Hampshire. Daniel, Kilo Charlie 1, Mike Romeo Zulu. Daniel, thanks for coming. It's a pleasure. So your Superhet folks are the folks that really love the feel of knobs, buttons, controls, stuff like this, right? You get one like this, you got a million knobs and buttons. You can control everything from your roofing filters to your bandpass, your notch, your noise blanker, and on and on and on. Where a software-defined radio, for the most part, can go through things like menus, and then you end up doing a whole bunch of adjustments through menus, and you might use one or two knobs or, buttons to be able to control it. That's how they work, okay? So Yaesu still comes out with the 3000, the 991A, and the 5000 in their Superhets. Then they go up to the 101 in the SDR arena. Okay, they also have the new FTDX 10. The FTDX 10 is supposed to come out later this month. So we'll see how the FTDX 10 stacks up to the 101. It's supposed to be a lot of 101 components in it. We'll have to wait and see how the testers feel about that 101. So that's Yaesu. On the Kenwood side, Kenwood still produces nothing but superhets. The 990 superhet. Now it is a superhet. They have multiple receivers with up to triple conversion on the 990s. A great affordable radio if you're starting out is this superhet here. This is the Kenwood 590 Sugar Golf. It resembles so close to the Elecraft K3, it's scary. Even the way it has its display. The Kenwood 590 Sugar Golf is a great radio, well known for good quality sound too. Kenwood has always been known for great audio quality. So those are both Superheterodyne radios. They use the old technology, first developed in 1918. Believe it or not, it's been that long. Wow. I look back and you think about how things have changed, right? It's amazing. Flex did get the message because one of the things that folks said was they didn't like the SDRs because it always had to be tethered to a computer. You couldn't take it on the road unless you took your computer with you, right? Your laptop or whatever. And it became a problem. So Flex started adding knobs to their radios. For example, here's a Flex miniature picture, but this is the 6600M. They make two of them. There's a 6400M and the 6600M. All right. Both of them are fantastic radios. The 6600 gives you more slices, which are essentially receivers. And instead of having it to hook up to a computer, you don't need a computer. You just hook it up, plug it in, just like the ICOM 7300, and away you go. All right. Again, almost infinite adjustability. That's what SDRs bring. And from what I've read, researched, and done myself, what I can tell you is I've found the initial SDR receiver is a little louder when it comes in than a Superhet. The gain is higher. Doesn't mean the noise floor is higher. It means if I use the same signal to receive with it that I do on a Superhet, the gain's about 3 dB. It's higher on really good SDRs. So whatever your decision is, whether it be a Superheterodyne to go for the classic look, which by the way, they're disappearing. ICOM isn't building superhets anymore. They're still building like the 7100 and so forth, but they're not creating new superhets, okay? Yaesu appears to be moving that direction. Kenwood is still building just superhets. Elecraft has moved now from the K3. They ceased production last year of the K3S, and now they're moving straight to the K4, which is a direct sampling SDR. You could also get it as a hybrid if you want the K4 HD. By the way, news that just broke from Elecraft. Elecraft is going to be offering, and this is going to be a very limited basis. You need to know this. They're going to be offering refurbed radios like K3, K3Ss as they get them. So let's say for folks that might not understand, kind of like Flex Radio with their trade-in program, if somebody trades in a radio or Elecraft obtains a K3 or K3S, they'll go through it, make sure everything's fine, and then re-retail it. Pretty cool. So that's a new thing that's just released from Elecraft. If you wanted that K3 or K3S and you'd kind of like to make sure it's okay, keep checking the Elecraft website. They'll be able to help you with that. So if you want that Superhet still and the K3S, highest rated Superheterodyne radio, that's not an SDR on Rob Sherwood's list. Pretty good radio, really is. So again, whatever you're looking for, make sure that you understand the difference. Superheterodynes, they just tend to be a little bit stronger. They do. And it's because of technology. Think of it when they first released, right? When Superhets first came out, they were a radio that were so big and so obtrusive that the Navy stopped making them. Just stopped. And then some brilliant hams came up and started a company called Flex in Austin, Texas. And then they came out with the very first SDR radio for hams. That was the 1000. And from there, it's just built and built and built. If you've ever had to go try and find crystal roofing filters, right? for a radio and you see their expense and then you got to add it. No more with SDRs. It just adjusts out for you. It's a fine, fine thing. So SDRs, the way that our world is going in ham radio, get to know them better. Step in with maybe a toe in the water. Buy a used one or buy a 7300. They're under $1,000. Let's read your comments. Gosh, you guys are active today. Happy Thursday. Wow. Happy Thursday. Man. Gunter, just feel kind of whacked from DX on 40 meters this morning. That's good. 40's good then. Nice to hear that. Happy Thursday to you, buddy. Yeah, that's good. Forget Your Life. The 10 is out. Available at HRO since Monday. All right. Was not available on Saturday. I was there on Saturday, so just missed it by one day. Limited availability, of course. When I was at HRO Portland, if anyone's looking for a 10, they had one person on the waiting list. That was it. Still think that radio is going to drop a couple $100. We'll see. Bunch of shows holding me up from finishing up my DX Commander Nebula install. How about on your side? You know, I got the regular DX Commander Classic. In fact, Cam is so quick at sending stuff. Big plug to Cam. This is not his call sign, but a big plug. M0MCX. He sent it in less than 2 weeks. And I'll tell you this, the antenna material that Callum McCormick uses for his DX Commander series, at least the Classic, I can vouch for it. I thought he made a mistake. Giant spool of looked like number 10 wire. I'm going, what? Anyway, it was so big and bulky, it stuck in the box. I had to shake it out of the box. I'm like, holy crud, this is the antenna wire. He makes some good stuff. I mean, that's way overbuilt. That antenna is so well constructed, you can't go wrong with his stuff. I am truly, truly amazed. Gunter in Germany eyeballing that new FTDX 10 to buy it next year. You know what? Wait. I'm good. Here's my thoughts on this. I'm going to be really honest, okay? The 991A, right? Jack in the Box, great radio. 5,000, 3,000, 1,200 before that, right? They all dropped in price. All of them have. Doesn't matter which. Remember the FTDX 10? I'm sorry, the FTDX 101 MP started out almost 4,500. Now they're just a titch over $4,000. And the FTDX 101D first released 3,650. Now look at it. It's about $500 less. Take a look and see what the prices do. Try and be patient unless you just can't wait and you got to get it. But I would wait for somebody to give you a report on it just because there's so much of a price gap between the 10 and the 101. I know there's another receiver in the 101. I get it. I know the 10 doesn't have VC tune. I get that. But there's got to be something else there. I just don't, I don't know how they got the exact same receiver of the 101 in the 10 at that price. Be interesting to see. I could be totally wrong. I probably am. We'll see. All right. So let's see. Question: Apache Labs versus Flex. Boy, that's tough. That's tough. I love Apache Labs. I do. They've got great stuff. Apache Labs. Here's their Andromeda. Oh, it's obviously, you know, this is their brand new radio. Okay. That's what Apache Labs is doing right now. It's about a little over $4,000. Comes from Australia. You can see the USB on the front. You can see all the controls here, and it's like the Flex. You can control it from a remote unit that they make and sell. Very nice. And you see that huge touch screen. Look at that. That's the new Apache Labs Andromeda. Big, big radio. Looks good. So I think if I was between those two, I don't know. I guess whoever had the best conductivity won. Okay. If I haven't looked at the Andromeda, if it's got 3 or 4 ins, like antenna inputs, I think that the Flex has 3 on the 6600. I would go with the one that has better connectivity. I just like having more antennas. Better connectivity always wins for me because I think the Apache Labs, especially the Anons, from what I've heard, the Andromeda are both going to be blast radios. They're made by the best hams in the world. Literally, these guys who make those are like just incredibly gifted hams. So yeah, great question, Bergs. I think that's good. Dynamic range of the 10 is amazing. 141. So that's like the 101. Same thing. Yep. Same thing. So, think of it this way. I look at radios this way. They're going to hear the same signal. Most of them will. My 7300 is going to hear the same weak signal my 101 does. It will. Now, how does it do with two strong ones and a weak one in between? That's where you really find the value of a radio. You have two signals that are 5.9 plus. You got down here, maybe S3, S4. How well does it separate those for the selectivity? That's what I'm looking for. So should be interesting how it goes. Eric has the Apache Labs. Specs are better on them than Flex. Apache Labs makes a great product. They're made by the best hams out there. They're well known. So good stuff. And I think overall, I think that as you go with the 10, I think the 10 is going to continually drop down. I think the 10's still got a couple $100 to move, maybe more. Really determines, I guess, what you really want to do. If you want to do full ham shack, 2 meter 440, run the HF bands, you know, the Elecraft K4, the Andromeda, the Anon, those are already fully wired. I think the 6600 and 64 have a transverter input. The nice thing about the K4, it can be an internal card you put in it, makes it nice and clean. Don't have to have a transverter box outside the radio. It's all contained. I think the K4 is going to be a dynamite. In fact, that's why I'm buying it. So, Gunter, if I win the lottery, I buy the Anon 8000. I'm with you, brother. I think that Apache Labs with or without built-in PC, I would, you know what? For me personally, I like it without the PC. I just like to have my radio by itself. And there's a reason for that. For me personally, it's a personal choice. However you want to do it. I like to have my radio by itself. I don't want to have to turn my computer on. Like for example, if my computer breaks, something happens, and I've got a software-defined radio that runs through my computer, I can't use the radio. I can't because my computer's broke or doesn't work right. I want my radio to be separate, okay? So having something go wrong in the computer isn't very helpful. And we all have those computers that have too much on them, so they lag things down, slow them down. I don't want my rig slowed down because there's too much junk on my computer. That's just me. Eric says, mine's without because I wanted a new PC anyway, so I built a hot rod computer to run it all. That's the way to do it. Get a good gaming computer. Really, get a great gaming computer. If you get a great gaming, and this sounds dorky, but that's the best way to do it. Get yourself a really strong gaming computer because they're built for sound cards, they're built for audio, and they're built for power. So they're going to handle a lot of things to do at one time, and they're going to process them quickly. Okay. But personally, I'd rather have it without the PC. Just my thoughts. Again, hey, I want to tell you, sorry about yesterday not having the show with Jim Heath, W6LG. Jim got a hold of me just before the show, a few hours. He says, Larry, I've got some personal things I got to attend to. Can we please postpone? We will. So we're going to postpone the show with Jim. And I do want to tell you, coming up here in 2 shows, we'll have show 99. That'll be fun. Going to be featuring the Elecraft K3, not the S. I do have a K3 here, though, that's loaded with filters. Should be fun. We're going to hook it up to the antenna system here and the amp. We're going to play radio and have some fun with the K3, see how well it does. I love the K3. I've got the SDR play for it, but I'm not going to hook it up yet. I just want to use it like a radio and listen to it. That's the best part of it. So we'll do that at show 99. Show 100 is dedicated to MFJ. The trip that we took to Mississippi, I'd like to take you along. I'd like to take you along for the ride so you can see what it looks like there, see all the buildings, meet the people, see how they build things. It's a behind-the-scenes look at MFJ, and I thought about pre-producing it, which is great because then you can make it all and it looks slick, right? But then your comments can't be a part of it. And to me, that's that's a no-win. You have to be a part of the show because you're just as important as me or anybody else. So show 100 will be a day at MFJ along with your comments, okay? Careful with gaming computers. Make sure you're not paying for a mediocre machine with a lot of LED. Yes, gaming computers that look cool because they've got all the LED garbage is not what you want because LED introduces noise into the RF field. You don't want that. Get a decent gaming computer with a nice block, just a box. You don't need the fluff. You don't need the crystal, or what is it, the plexiglass case so you can see everything. Who cares? Just get a black box, solid, strong, high RAM, high memory, a good video card, great audio card. That's what you want. Just get something strong. And remember, I'm a Mac guy. Some Macs just won't work with them. So if you've got a Mac, make sure it's Mac compatible. All right, Martin, hey, good to see you, buddy. And see, here we go. This is a great example of somebody who appreciates what they have. An Alinco DX77, built in 96, right? Still has it because he loves it. That's it. Doesn't matter what kind of radio you have. Remember, we do a show here because we're trying to help new hams get in. So we're trying to describe difference between Superhets and SDRs. Couldn't believe I couldn't find anything on YouTube that showed it. Really, that showed it. An SDR takes essentially an incoming signal. It will bring it into an A to D converter and then a D to A converter. Because remember, you got to transmit. So you've got A to D, D to A, an FGPA, field programmable gate array, which is essentially the conductor of the orchestra. It tells the computer or your radio exactly how to do things. That's where all the heavy lifting is done in your FPGA. 16-bit, 14-bit, 18-bit, just to make sure that it will work properly. Also, how they're done. For example, the FTDX 101 uses a retail grade 18-bit processor. The ICOM 7300 uses a 16-bit commercial grade processor. Stronger processor, more money. More money, valuable. Think about that. All right. So again, good stuff. Getting old with is Alinco DX77. Martin, that's my favorite comment of the day because I love Superhets. That's why there's two here. The 5000 and the 5000 and the K3. And I've got to tell you, I'm struggling now since I've used the K3. I really like that radio. I can tell why people used them on DXpeditions and why they're so popular. Look at the size difference between these two radios. Just give you an idea. Let me show you. Here's the 5000. And, there's a reason they call them boat anchors because they're huge. Now look at the K3. Hold on. See that? There's a great difference. Whoops. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties, little technical difficulties. There you go. Okay, here's what I want to show you. K3, 7300. Price, size-wise, okay? And of the two, the K3 is lighter. No joke. K3 is lighter. See why they're used on DXpeditions. It's a great radio. So, Martin, with your Alinco, I can see why you're smiling from ear to ear. Yeah, because they're great. Superhets, I have a very strong place in my heart for superheterodynes. I do. So, but SDR is where the world's going. Get used to them. Get used to what things mean. All of a sudden, I got too hot. Get used to what things mean. Get used to how they work. Okay? There's different things we look at with those. All right? This is going to be like a talk show. I like that. It's fun. We get a chance to spend some time together. My brother is in for cancer treatment right now. So I thought, we'll do a show. Greg, our new ham. Good to see you, buddy. K3 versus 7300 for a first HF for a new ham. I would go with the K3 every time. Here's the why. And I love ICOM. The K3 teaches your radio better. It just does. It teaches you how filters work. You can see how they work on the screen. You can see how things work, and how different things will affect your audio signal, your incoming audio signal. K3 is a lot more expensive, though. To get into radio, the ICOM 7300 is a great starter radio to learn with. It gets you on the air very inexpensively and with a warranty. That's important. Elecraft isn't making K3Ss anymore. to get a K3 like this here that has that has all the filters it has in it because it's a dual receive. And there's a good example too. Look how big the 5000 is compared to the K3. The K3 has everything and more inside that radio than the 5000 does, believe it or not. It has a roofing filter in it that goes to 2.7, but then the 5000 is 3. It has a second roofing filter that goes down to 1.8 for SSB. Just saying. I mean, smaller package. Elecraft just did things the right way. They did. But I think if you're starting out, Greg, such a great question. I started out with the 7300. I was thrilled with it. I really was. I didn't like the noise, but I didn't realize the noise was coming from a neighbor's waterfall pump. There you go. Yep. And Gunter, 7300 always. And Daniel, 7300 always. Yeah. I hate the narrow-banded sideband filters. I think that, again, you actually, on an ICOM, you can transmit 2.9. It'll go 2.9 on the transmit side. So, Gunter, it is narrow. And in fact, on the ICOMs, that's the most narrow of the big three because Yaesu will go up to 4K. I think Kenwood's 3.6. I think I'm probably wrong, but I'm close. I know I'm close. But the K3 is going to be a classic radio. I think to start out with, Greg, while I love the K3 because of just how special of a radio is and how it teaches you how to use a radio, which is something you need at the beginning. The 7300 is easy to just get up and run with. And then you just kind of learn as you go. Great filtering. You do learn how to use the filter, the notch, the bandwidth, all that stuff on the 7300. It's really good. It really is. The K3 is getting to be more and more of a collectible radio as time goes on. When they stopped making them, that was it. In fact, that's why I wanted to give you the news from Elecraft that they are going to be selling some refurbed K3s and K3Ss when available. So if you're interested, check the Elecraft site on that. Yes, Hammer TRX for sure. Yes. And what's kind of one thing to tell you too, Greg, on the K3s and K3Ss, they were a favorite of contesters. Contesters loved them because they were light, they were powerful, and they had such strong receivers. So don't give up on the SDRs. They do have their place, and I can understand why people love them. But the future, I said SDR, sorry, I meant Superheterodynes. But SDR is the way things are going. So just understand we are moving that direction, albeit maybe a little slow. But what's coming out right now is the best receivers in the history of ham radio. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ham Radio Live is here to help people get on the air and those on the air to help make their stations better. Hopefully give you some good product reviews and help teach you a little bit. This video was, I think, I was blown away. Couldn't find it anywhere on YouTube. Superhets versus SDRs and what they are. So there you go. Yeah, Jim does have two. He's got K3s with the S modules in them, but they're not K3Ss. And there is a difference between the K3S and a K3 that you put the synth module in. Yeah, still some more stuff on it. Anyway, hey, my favorite comment still of the show. Love this. Martin's comment. Because it shows that no matter, I got to scroll way up to find it. Goodness sakes, Martin, you're awesome, man. You got so many people commenting. Thank you for that. Still use a Alinco DX77 from 96. Getting old with my Alinco DX77. No better way to grow old than with a radio you love. Thanks, Martin. And thank you, too, everybody that's been here today. It's been an honor and a privilege, okay? It really has been. Next show is going to be covering the K3. So, Greg, if you'd like to see it and see how it works, it'd be my joy to show it to you. From Germany, Gunter there in Wiesbaden, the best words of all. Happy Thursday to everyone. Thank you very much for coming. This has been my honor and privilege. From Germany and from Oregon. Goodbye, everybody. God bless you. Have a wonderful Thursday.